In Chicago, from 2001 to 2009, Taqwa Eco-Food Cooperative provided locally and sustainably produced halal meat. Taqwa leader Kayed Hassan prepared spiritually to offer halal slaughter, hoping to mirror the respect, interconnection, and care that he witnessed in a Mauritanian village slaughter process. His example starkly contrasts with standard slaughter in industrial-scale factory farms, even among meats labeled halal. By highlighting Quranic care ethics, both during the lives and deaths of farm animals, Taqwa leaders embodied a religiously inspired alternative to cruel yet common practices in industrial food systems that reduce animals to products. Further, Taqwa embraced ethics for land stewardship and water conservation by sourcing their meat from small, local, sustainable farms. Putting concrete value on skilled, conscientious people, Taqwa paid farmers living wages, recognizing the true cost to give animals the best lives possible before becoming food. Educating and providing the local community with alternatives to industrially produced halal meat, Taqwa encouraged conversation about and consumption of not only halal meat, but tayyib food, which supports water, land, animal, and human health. Taqwa Eco-Food Cooperative fused contemporary green notions with a dynamic interpretation of Muslim piety, producing a fresh version of Zabiha-Halal for the local community. Unfortunately for consumers, meats marketed as halal include inconsistent application of Muslim laws on meat handling and animal slaughter. This halal spectrum includes questionable meats and worse, violations of slaughter specifications. Mufti Sheikh Abdullah Nana and his organization Halal Advocates of America exposed the startling practice of drive-by halal certification, in which a sheikh might offer the slaughter blessing not inside, during slaughter, but as he drives by in front of the slaughterhouse. According to his research, as many as 50% of American Muslims consume questionable meat, despite halal labeling that attests to its permissibility. Taqwa leaders found such practices abhorrent, compounded by additional justice concerns in the contemporary industrial food business. Taqwa's website showed their multi-layered commitment to care ethics. Taqwa Eco-Food Cooperative serves 4 communities: consumers, food production workers, animals, and Mother Earth. The cooperative aims to restore Islamic ethics in the raising of livestock and poultry. It does so by replacing inhumane farming practices with healthy and ecologically respectful techniques, thereby improving standards of food production. The above statement clearly delineated the ethical concern for those bodies that eat, the bodies being eaten, the people working with the animals, and the land supporting all of those human and animal bodies. Kayed Hassan was a volunteer slaughterer for Taqwa and the project's last coordinator. Following Taqwa's closure in 2009, Hassan initiated and directed Whole Earth Meats, a sustainable meat business built on Taqwa's model of care for consumers, farmers, workers, animals, and land. Hassan described Whole Earth Meats products as Zabiha-Halal, fusing terms to perhaps doubly indicate their legal permissibility and acceptability. In contrast with Sheikh Abdullah's discovery of drive-by prayer near a slaughter facility, Hassan described a profound experience of traditional Zabiha slaughter. During a 2-month visit to the community of Sheikh Murabit al-Hajj bin Fafu in Mauritania in 2002, Hassan camped within close distance of grazing cows. When his local friend prepared for slaughter, Hassan observed the process. And this is a quote from our interview. "You wouldn't even have known that an animal was being slaughtered. It was so much finesse there, just so much compassion, and so much ease and methodology to it. It probably took 30 minutes of just working with the animal, working with the cow in the middle of the desert. Just about 30 minutes of just gradually getting it to a place where it was ready to be sacrificed." This experience awoke Hassan to the possibility that animals can receive fair, just, and prayerful treatment even as they face slaughter, which inspired Hassan to study Zabiha slaughter techniques for use with Taqwa and subsequently Whole Earth Meats. Taqwa Eco-Food Cooperative grew out of the interfaith greening efforts of Chicago's environmental and religious nonprofit organization, Faith in Place. Reverend Dr. Claire Butterfield founded Faith in Place in 1999, and after September 11, 2001, she witnessed amplified Islamophobia directed toward Chicago Muslims. Butterfield and Taqwa's founding coordinator, Shireen Pishtadi, collaborated to begin the project, though Butterfield emphasized that Pishtadi steered the project to meet environmental goals endogenous to the Muslim community. Taqwa provided logistical sourcing and distribution of, quote, sustainably raised halal Zabiha meat, end quote, to local Muslim families, plus other local people concerned with consuming meat produced ethically and sustainably. From 2001 to 2007, coordinator Shireen Pishtadi did outreach in the local Muslim community to educate about the way the meat industry can adversely affect the health of consumers, farmers, workers, animals, and the environment. She found rural Illinois farmers who shared values for practicing humane, free-range, organic, and sustainable methods to raise, for example, chickens, cows, and goats. From 2007 to 2009, Zainab Khan coordinated the project, followed by Kayed Hassan in 2009. Due to its unsustainable financial situation, Hassan decided, as I mentioned, with full support of Faith in Place, to continue the spirit of the project in his own private business, Whole Earth Meats. In 2010, I conducted interviews with Taqwa's first and last coordinators, Pishtadi and Hassan, plus Faith in Place founder-director, Reverend Dr. Claire Butterfield. In these interviews, Taqwa coordinators showed thoughtful critique and vision regarding food and agriculture concerns, integrated together with Muslim piety and identity. They were not trying to establish legal precedents, nor did they pose themselves as religious leaders. Rather, as religiously committed lay people, they cited aspects of Islam to explain their commitments to the following agricultural goals: questioning industrial farming methods and their exploitative destructiveness to land, water, animals, farmers, and farm workers; supporting smaller-scale local farms that raise animals with kindness and nourish the land's regenerative capacity; paying small farmers a living wage; and living faithfully by acting wisely within God's creation in accordance with divine law. Pishtadi found coherence between the Muslim value for maintaining water purity and avoiding industrially produced meat. Due to a lack of adequate regulations, larger-scale meat producers, such as concentrated animal feeding operations or CAFOs, are not required to provide a sewer system for animal waste. The resulting lakes of excrement are quite detrimental to local waterways, polluting land and water with a city-scale concentration of waste. Pishtadi explained, "It's not halal. It is haram to pollute water. It is explicitly haram to pollute water. So if the food we're eating was raised in a way that pollutes water, is it halal?" Pishtadi's viewpoint was not widespread in her community, but her message was clear and compelling, offering a larger view of permissibility and subsequent piety and ethical action to avoid buying meat produced industrially. Abu Dawood offered a hadith that may concur with Pishtadi's statement. The Apostle of Allah prohibited eating the animal, which feeds on filth, and drinking its milk. The living conditions for confined animals are certainly filthy, as are the polluting quantities of excrement. This hadith can be interpreted as a denouncement of eating animals which eat other animals, or animal byproducts, or eating animals that ate feed that does not resemble a traditional natural eating pattern. Either of these cases would render an animal impermissible. Factory farms provide cows with corn, which does not resemble grass, their natural food. Worse, animal byproducts are often mixed into the feed, which has had dire consequences in mad cow disease, for example. In response to the rise of mad cow disease in the 1990s, the US FDA required that animal feed for ruminants, or natural grass eaters like cows, be free of most mammalian protein. Nonetheless, FDA inspection tests in 2001 revealed a stark reality. 25% of feed was not up to the standard. Such mammal protein supplements may in fact contain pork products, which is not communicated to the consumer who eats beef from cows that ate pork. Thus, industrially produced factory farmed meat can be considered haram due to excessive water pollution as well as unnatural feeding patterns that may include pork fed to cows and other ruminants that should be eating grass. It is animal confinement in service of higher yields, which leads to such unnatural feeding patterns. Such patterns are avoidable when animals live more naturally, grazing outdoors in smaller numbers. Further, the contemporary meat production industry releases substantial methane, a more significant contributor to climate-related weather disturbances than carbon dioxide. Such factory-farmed meat is questionable, clearly not wholesome or tayyib, which is arguably the legal foundation for halal foods. In their book Halal Food Production, Riaz and Chaudhry concur the underlying principle for halal is that food has to be halalun tayyiban, meaning permissible and wholesome or good. Taqwa defined tayyib this way: wholesome foods, tayyib, are those that are conducive to goodness and well-being and free from harmful effects. Piety named the project Taqwa. Thanks. Based on her assertion that Muslim piety required a wider application of pious attentiveness related to agriculture and food. She explained, in everything we do, whether it's sleeping or working or eating or anything, there has to be that kind of God-fearing aspect, so that's just a part of me in my life. The term taqwa can be defined as God-fearing or mindfulness of God or even volition, and in this vein, Piety infused religiosity through her work, sourcing ethically raised animals for taqwa. Beyond the abuses of animals, land, and water in factory farming, Piety found objectionable the hazardous working conditions, mistreatment, and low pay for workers and farmers. Piety asserted, halal is not just about how you slaughter the animal, right? I mean, if you are exploiting people, right, enslaving people to grow your food, how is that halal? Piety pushed past what she perceived as assimilationist certification issues that gave a rubber stamp to factory-farmed meat, and posed questions about ethical treatment of people in the industrial food system. She emphasized the Muslim ethic for social justice. Unfortunately, larger-scale food producers tend to keep a financial bottom line primary, which often results in exploitative conditions for farm and meat packing workers. Piety emphasized the visionary work of the Coalition of Immokalee Workers, a social movement counteracting contemporary slavery in the U.S. Yes, contemporary slavery in the U.S. So thankfully, this organization has arose to combat it. To avoid nearly inevitable injustices structurally built into larger-scale food production, Taqwa cultivated professional relationships with smaller-scale, local, sustainable farmers, reflecting Muslim ethics for justice against slavery, as well as providing a living wage for small farmers. Unfortunately, the high ethical standard that Taqwa created was not financially sustainable in the first decade of the new millennium, as such alternative meats were not readily available or understood. The high cost of meat created sticker shock for consumers, and they were offering critique of the food system at a time when many Muslims were more tentative about challenging U.S. norms, fearing further backlash and discrimination. Hassan emphasized the need to reflect on God's eventual assessment of each person's piety, weaving together practical commitments to the earth. There are many things that we are given control over, and we have to answer for those things. One of them is walking on this earth, drinking from this earth, eating from this earth, breathing from this earth, excreting on this earth. You think that these things are just going to happen and you don't have to answer for it? We should have some devotion to it. Earth, some love, right? Some love for what keeps us grounded, literally. Love that quote. Taqwa Eco-Food Cooperative was an early 21st century effort to fuse Muslim ethics with response to contemporary problems in the industrial food system. Hassan and Piety were committed to providing a living wage for farmers, a respectful life and humane slaughter for food animals, an integrated view of land and water quality, promoting health for all participants in the food production system. Piety said, "It's like a bird with two wings. So we are spiritual beings and we're earthly beings, and we're both. We're not one or the other. And we have to maintain this balance, but we're so unbalanced in the society. We're highly materialistic. Taqwa Eco-Food Cooperative catalyzed material needs for food with Muslim ethical principles, both for Taqwa's leaders and for participants, expressing daily devotion to the earth and to God through local, sustainable, grass-fed, free-range Zabiha-Halal meats. Thank you.